Hey, you guys. It is hump day. It is Wednesday, July 17, 2024. Kristen Navagliano here, the founder of Create My Weight. I am a sports nutritionist, personal trainer, emotional eating coach, and I'm going to allow my colleague and co-host today, Nick Tuminello. So excited for this collaboration with Nick because Nick is somebody who I admire tremendously. Is he coming on live now? There he is. All right, let me not be cut off by the camera. Awesome. How's it going today, Nick?
Hey, it's going all right. You hear me? Can you hear me all right?
Hear you okay? Can you guys in the live hear us all right? Give us a thumbs up in the comments below if you can hear us both. I haven't done an Instagram live in a while, so super excited for this.
Right.
Live with us. We've got Tamara. We've got Melissa. We've got Delia. Hi. We've got a number of people coming on live. We got Bobby here. So I want to give a shout out to everybody, and I want to thank Nick for joining me today. So
Sure. I'm
Nick,
just I'm just adjusting my camera a little bit. Already having technical difficulties, of course.
that's okay.
There we go.
Yeah, while Nick's getting, thank you, Melissa. Josh is with us live. Hey, Josh. So while Nick's getting set up, we got Alyssa here. Give a little intro to Nick because Nick is somebody that not only I admire tremendously in the fitness space, but I know a lot of our trainer friends from the Delray Beach, Palm Beach County area in South Florida. And I know Nick lives in Broward County now. We all Nick is the trainer of trainers, as we call him. He was the 2016 NSCA Trainer of the Year. He has a best-selling book, which is amazing, strength training for fat loss. So Nick, why don't you tell us a little bit more about like your specialties and like how you help people with fitness currently?
Sure. Well, as I first off, I really appreciate the introduction, and I appreciate what you're doing to give back to the community and the niche that you're focusing on. Which a lot of it is a lot of us have the information. It's just that we lack the strategy, right? So that's what you're helping folks do. So I would say I've evolved a lot. I've worked with everybody from NFL athletes to MMA to figure girls, physique, bodybuilding, but general everyday Joes and Janes of all ages. I would say where my focus as a trainer has become is more working with some of the hard cases, people who have aches and pains that still want to train hard. They're not a physical therapy patient, but they've just dealt with some issues that the workout keeps flaring up, or they're coming off of some injuries and they want to work with me because I understand a little bit more than the average trainer about orthopedics. So, and also still how to train hard, not just put you in this rehab purgatory, as we like to say, where you're just doing rotator cuff exercises and mobility drills. So I understand that that's not exactly what we're talking about now, but that's where the market has led me, right? We're all, it's a free market business, and we deliver the service that the market asks for us. But within that, of course, the idea of improving your overall health, looking a little better in and out of your clothes, that's always a main plus, whether your shoulders or knees hurt or not.
Yeah. Yeah. And although we might not talk a lot about like, injury purgatory today, I want you guys live right now to comment in the chat if you feel like you've been in injury purgatory. Put like a thumbs up if you have felt like you've been stuck in your fitness routine or your training because of injury. You didn't know what to do or how to move forward, how to progress on your fitness journey because you suffer from injuries. I know I've had that. Like I was a competitive runner for a long time. I ran track and field, and I've had every ankle, IT band, hip, knee issue on the planet. So all these injuries I had in the past actually inspired me to become a trainer. And that happened ago at this point, which is crazy to think about. And so, yeah, although Nick and I have a different clientele we work with, most people come to me for the weight loss journey, body transformation. They come to me to build healthier eating habits, also like be more consistent with their fitness. And I help them optimize their fitness routine. And this is something Nick and I will talk a little bit about today. But most importantly, why we're here today and why I'm like super excited to talk with Nick about this, because not many trainers talk about this. We're going to talk about like staying motivated, right? So truth be told, a lot of people hire trainers because they find that trainers will hold them accountable, right? If I'm paying someone to show up and do a workout, like that's the only way I'm going to work out. Comment below if that's you. Hashtag that's me. Like if you've hired a trainer, maybe you currently have a trainer, or maybe if you are a trainer, I know a lot of Nick's followers are trainers. If you have clients that hire you because they tell you if I'm not paying someone, I'm not showing up, like comment below, that's me, right? Because we hear this all of the time. And even myself, like I actually hired, oh my God, John Binford, you know him, Nick. I for a little bit of time because I have some running injuries that I know how to fix on my own, but I don't because it's painful and I'm not going to do it. So I worked with John for a little bit so I could help overcome that and get out of my comfort zone. So trainers are a tremendous asset. But one thing that Nick and I want to help you with today is how to be motivated on your own to work out. Not just be motivated, but like to be consistent. Because Nick, I don't know if you experience clients who have these struggles. Like they'll work out consistently and then they'll fall off the wagon, maybe come back. Have you ever experienced that with your clients in the past?
Yeah, I've done the same thing. I'm not on a wagon, but I mean, I go from workouts where I'm training like I'm training back when I was fighting to working out just 15 minutes for the day and just go, I got to get out of here because I've got a lot of things going on. I mean, I'll get into that. I think a lot of clients relate to me because I'm not the traditional gym rat that literally lives in a gym. I own gyms. I literally lived in one, but I didn't have the mentality of what it was like to be someone from the other side. It's like, look, I don't work in a gym. I'm a doctor. I'm a lawyer. I'm a mom. I'm dad. You know, I have to drive here. I have to drive home. I have to shower here. Like, I get it. So I've always taken a people approach first, not a training approach first. And I think some trainers, that's something I always talk about with trainers. I understand that maybe it's a mix of audience here, not just trainers, but sometimes that is a hindrance. And maybe I'll tie this into the getting motivated thing is maybe even just make it the first practical tip is don't try to fit yourself, or as a trainer, don't try to fit clients to a workout. Fit the workouts to them. A lot of what we do is based on our personality, right? If you're someone who's pretty impatient and you have anxiety, then quicker, faster paced workouts are probably for you, right? If you're someone who likes to, you like to look at your phone, it's just maybe it's not a waste of time for you. Maybe it's just mental distraction from all the stress and shit you've dealt with that day. Then maybe you like a more slower paced powerlifting style workout, right? Where you do a heavy set of bench press or hip thrust and then you look at your phone for 4 minutes. Fine. Whatever. It's keep in mind that, I always say neck up and neck down. Neck down is all biomechanics and physiology, and it's pretty consistent. We all have the same shoulder joints that do the same motions. Maybe somebody's got a little bit of arthritis and a past injury, but a human shoulder is a human shoulder. A human knee is a human knee. But as soon as you go from the neck up, this psychology is always going to trump the physiology. So whatever this doesn't want to do, this isn't going to do, or it's not going to stay consistent or buy in. So if you match something to your personality, and trainers need to do that, and they often miss that. They go, well, I learned how to do kettlebells, therefore everybody does kettlebells. I learned how to do yoga, therefore everybody does yoga. It's a big problem with trainers, and every trainer tells you you need something different because it's based on the trainer's bias and the trainer's preferences, not the individual ability. There's lots of roads, lots of paths up the hill. Some of them are safer than others. Some of them are better than others, but there are still multiple paths. So that's my first tip to tie all this together. Fit workouts to you. It's still going to be challenging. It's not going to be like a day at the water park or a day at the beach. You're still going to challenge yourself. You're still going to be tired. You're still going to sweat. But there are lots of ways to challenge your body that are more enjoyable than the others.
Yeah. I love that you opened up with that, and we'll definitely even get more into our tips for staying motivated. But like, this is a huge part of at least what I coach in my program, and I call it fitness freedom. Being able to do workouts you enjoy in a way that supports your goals. And this is something that even in my past, like when I was a new trainer, and I don't know if you experienced this, Nick, but like when I was a younger trainer and I thought like lifting heavy all the time was like the only way to like look fit, right? And like build muscle. I learned over time through some of our mentors, even like Brett Contreras, who you hooked me up with out in Phoenix one time, even he'll talk about like, heavy weights are great, but it's also great to do like accessory work and lighter weights and bands. Like I love your example. We did some band work today for glutes and back work. So I also love mixing up, heavier weights, lighter weights. I like to hike. I'm out here in Colorado right now. Biking is something I enjoy. So I love that you bring that in. And I love that tip too. I'm going to type on the comments here in a little bit, neck up to the neck down, right? Or neck, is that what you said? Right? Up and down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the guide. So like I said, psychology trumps physiology all day long, right?
Yeah. And today on our talk, we're going to really focus on this psychology, right? About how to stay motivated. So let me just do a quick little rundown, guys, of what exactly Nick and I will talk about today so you can be crystal clear. The first thing we'll talk about is a little bit of like the biggest struggles we see our clients face. So whether you yourself are in this category or trainers, if you see clients of yours experience this, and kind of how we've helped them. Then we'll talk a little bit more about our personal story. So I just shared a little bit of mine. We'll dig more into that. And then lastly, our top 3 tips. And Nick just gave one of my favorite tips. So thank you for doing that. Our top 3 tips for staying motivated and consistent. And then lastly, we'll do a little Q&A. All right, so let's dive into maybe just a couple of the biggest struggles, just so we can make sure everyone watching is going to benefit from this and learn something. I know me, for example, like, although I teach fitness freedom and a lot of my clients do enjoy exercise to an extent, one of the things I know throws them off is traveling, right? Especially it's summer, you know, and maybe they travel for a couple of weeks and they're either home and they're consistent, they're going to the gym and they're doing their at-home workouts, but then when they travel, they're totally like, quote unquote, off the wagon, right? Like they're not getting anything in. They come home after, 2-3 weeks and psychologically they feel like they're totally deconditioned and, oh my God, I got to go back to square one. But you and I both know as trainers, like we do have something called muscle memory and we can just jump back into that workout in a couple of weeks. I mean, have you seen that, Nick, with some of your clients or experienced that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's just a normal human thing. But so, sorry if I'm too much of a cut to the chase type person. I always like to have practical outcomes, and because I know when I listen to these things, I'm like, all right, just tell me something I can use, So I would say, the thing to that is that I'd see the mistake that people make. Oh, I was bad this week. I only walked once, and I only did 10 minutes at the gym. Great. I'm not saying don't hold yourself to standards. I'm not saying take this very hippie approach to just, oh, whatever, man, it's no problem. But I just think people overthink themselves with this stuff. There's so much information, and that's great. But it's like we get into questions, well, I was going to do it, but I don't know if I was doing it right. So, yeah, but you just didn't do it at all, right? So it's just, as long as you don't hurt yourself and you're going to do something. When I go away, especially, I travel a lot to teach trainers.
Right.
So I'm on jet lag. Like I go to Bangkok every year to teach at this really cool conference as one example. My workouts, this is at a fitness conference. I mean, my sleep is terrible because I'm 100% backwards. So my workouts maybe once are there, but I've been talking all day about fitness. I just do like 10 or 15 minute workouts, just enough to energize myself. And I also know my brain is in presenter mode. I'm thinking, I got to work at my slides. Do I got to do this? So in that case, I prepare myself. Again, I'm a trainer. I've been doing this. I get it's easy. It's my job. But have protocols in your back pocket that I know I can get this done in 10 minutes, but it's not an easy 10 minutes. Like I'm pretty advanced. I know how to, I could, smash a top level MMA fighter in 10 minutes from a fitness perspective with some of the things I know, which are not just do 50 burpees and 50 squat jumps and call it a day. That's just dumb, thoughtless programming. We have a good, sequence of programming in there, but that's all I would say there. So another tip is just find something that you will do. Don't punish yourself if you're not perfect. Nobody's perfect, but give yourself some standard to do. I'm going to do this at least twice in my 5-day vacation or whatever. And if you just know, hey, I don't get to it because it's too long, then just go, look, 10 minutes. And I'm just going to ramp it. I mean, at that point, then you can kick yourself in the pants and go, man, I couldn't do 10 minutes. All right. Then you can hold yourself to some standards a little bit, right? So, but be realistic of what you will do, because the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. And I love that tip is just like set realistic expectations, right? So I totally agree with you. Like if I'm on a 3-day vacation or a 3-day trip, like I'm not putting pressure on myself to work out, like no big deal. But if let's say this was a great example. I went to Greece a couple years ago and I brought my bands with me, and I was like, there for 12 days, like I'm sure I'll want to do something active, So I remember I had this video on my Instagram feed somewhere. I did this like workout on my balcony looking at the Aegean Sea. And it was I just did some squat press with my bands and bicep curls, like super basic stuff, guys, but it was like 10 minutes. And I felt so better after that 10 minutes. I didn't pressure myself to, go do this long workout. I was with one of my best girlfriends. So like, I wasn't going to say, hey, I'm busy for the next hour. But like, I think that's really important, guys. Nothing kills progress and prosperity more than pressure. So if we put so much pressure on ourselves to stick to some work out. And this is a great example. Nick being at a conference and at a fitness conference, he's like, I'm not really working out hard. Like, I'm in presenter mode. And like when I'm on vacation, I do get into vacation mode. But since fitness is part of our life, we will sneak it in little bouts, right? And that's how you create a lifestyle around fitness, not this like hardcore, I have to follow this routine or else. And then we feel guilty if we miss it. And that's where we get in our heads. And as Tony Robbins says, when we stay in our head, we're dead, right? So a great tip right there, set realistic expectations. And also too, something, Nick, that you've talked about a lot in your talks, NEAT, the importance of non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So when I travel, for example, and maybe you've done this too, like getting out, just walking, that can be a great form of exercise versus like to a gym.
Yeah, again, and that of course that takes time, right? So some people go, maybe they don't like the area they're in, maybe they go, I get bored. So I mean, I'm with you 100%. It's just not. I jokingly say like sedentary bodybuilder. I know we're not talking about bodybuilders here, but we have people who are like will go hard for 60 or 90 minutes in the gym, and they're big, muscular, or real fit, but then the rest of the day they're just sitting on their ass. And then you wonder why they're not very fit and probably getting hurt or they have a hard time losing weight. Cultures that actually lose or stay the leanest in general, not only tend to eat a little bit of a better food, just more of that Mediterranean style diet, but also just tend to lead a more active lifestyle. Those cultures may not be the biggest, most muscular, most powerful in general, but they do more physical effort throughout the day. More walking the dog, more gardening, different things like that. Obviously, that's not about necessarily staying motivated, but you're right. It's just, whatever you'll do. So I like to say, again, I'm more of a simple, practical type person. And you talked about pressure kills progress. I understand what you're saying if it gives you anxiety, but, there's a flip side of that. Some people work well with deadlines, right? So we're not trying to have a conversation of, which way. Again, it's personality. Some people that may crush them, other people may go, that narrows my focus, right? So if you are that type of person where you need some baseline, where someone just says, I don't know what to do, but you don't just tell me to eat better. You got to tell me how many calories to do, and you got to tell me don't eat after 6, regardless of what nutritionists say, that's fear mongering or there's no special. Maybe some person's personality just goes, that's what's going to get me to stick because it's a simple rule. It's easy for me to follow. Again, psychology trumps physiology. What you're going to follow, the best workout, the best diet's what you're going to do, what you're going to stick to. So in that case, I would say, I love this saying, 24-hour goals, right? And if I ever wrote another book on other things that are more motivational and things, it would be called 24-hour goals, right? So I'm not afraid to give it away here. If someone does a better job than me, then they go steal it. Fine. But what I mean by that is just say, okay, today I'm going to do I'm going to throw out random numbers here. I'm going to hit my 10,000 steps. I'm going to do 15 minutes in the gym. Are you going to be perfect throughout the day? No. Sometimes you get home and go, yeah, they got away from me. Great. But then it just makes you more motivated the next day to hit it. But it's always easier to do things based on a day than look at this mountain and go, oh my God, I got these 15 pounds to lose. And, I don't know where to start. It's like, well, it's not just going to jump unless you cut your leg off. It's not coming off that quick. So, what can I do? Reverse engineer it. What can I do today that gets me just a step closer to that? And again, start with something simple and realistic. That's what a lot of times that puts too much pressure on people is they think too much about it. I have some other things to say about that, but I don't want to go on a rant.
I love that 24-hour goal. That's going to be another great tip for staying motivated and consistent because I think we do tend to be more goal focused and progress and process focused. And I think like we can be more process focused by having that 24-hour goal. And what am I going to do today? Right. Just stay. So Nick, I love that strategy. So I hope let's type a 1 in the comments here, guys, if you think that's a strategy you can employ, or that's something you think that would benefit you. I know that benefits me. And even just like being an entrepreneur, and Nick and I are both entrepreneurs, own businesses. And when you're a business owner, we have lots of things we want to achieve, but we can't do it, in a day, everything. So what can I do today? right? So how we do one thing is how we do everything. So a lot of the things that Nick and I are talking about today as it pertains to fitness will also pertain to other areas of your life. And I have a new client, April, who's on the live with us. Hey, April. And she is a mortgage broker. She is a real estate investor and agent. And we were talking about this the other day. You know, when we struggle with consistency in one area of our life, it tends to lead to others. So I love this 24-hour goal that Nick just shared with us. One thing I wanted to share, and Nick, I would love your take on this, and even other trainers that are listening to this, you can comment. But I know one personal struggle I've had in the past, and some of my clients have had in the past, is overtraining.
Yeah.
So maybe you are who is super motivated to work out, love fitness, you have this mentality like no days off. Comment in the chat like no days off if that's you. And you're like hardcore 60, 90 minutes, as Nick said before earlier, in the gym. And maybe a problem you have is maybe you're like constantly sore, right? Or you're like not really seeing progress because you're really like burnt out or beating your body down. And that is a way to lose motivation over time, right? Because you're all in working out like a fiend or nothing, right? So comment in the chat if that's you. Nick, have you seen that in any particular clients, maybe one gender versus another?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen it in more women than men. That may not be some politically correct statement or whatever. I'm just telling you what I've seen, right? I have no numbers to back that up aside from just my own experience. So definitely take that with the smallest grain of salt. But I don't necessarily worry about it at first, because I would just call that person 100%er, right? I'm 100%er, right? And you'll hear that. And when we talk about my own story, I'll just kind of cut to the chase.
Yeah.
You know, my joke is when I wrote my first book, I've written 4.5 books now. I'll get to what I've written, a second edition of Strength Training for Fat Loss. So it's a half edition. That's the newest one, but that was my first book. I gained 8 pounds sitting on my ass for 6 or 8 months writing that dang book on fat loss, right? Because it was a new stress to me to do. And I just didn't prioritize my training as much. I prioritized my thought process. This is getting to the extreme. I took the extreme of that is I sacrificed myself because my thought, my personality was I can take a year to write this book. In general, or and keep everything the same. And every time I go to the gym and I have conversations, I'm just not even there, right? I'm talking to my girlfriend at the time or family, and they're talking to me, and in my head I'm going, how am I going to express, thought, organize this? Because that's how I am. I become very obsessed with things to get it right, perfectionist mentality. Or I can just sacrifice some other things and get this done like in 6 months and get this 1,000-pound gorilla off my shoulders and get this accomplishment and then get back to training. I know I can get this little extra chub off. I know I can do that, but I want this done. So I was willing to make that change, but that's my mindset,
Yeah.
right? So again, I know my personality, good, bad, happy or sad, that's who I am. So again, knowing things come in waves, I did have things prepared to where I didn't change my diet because I've always been kind of an athlete and very active. So that's what was the fat gain. It wasn't like I was stressed and go, oh my God, I need pizza. It wasn't that. It was just that I was sitting more. I was more sedentary working on a book, but I still was working out, but my workouts became these 20-minute heavy, one hitter quitter type, 20 minutes, hit it hard and then shower and then back to work, train clients, back to writing the book sort of vibe. So I also, again, to lead to another tip is instead of trying to fight yourself, honor yourself. Go, okay, this is who I am. I am somebody who's impatient. I like shorter workouts, but I have to be doing, the article on Oxygen, said I have to do 40 minutes. Who gives a shit what Oxygen says? They don't know you. They're speaking to the general, right? There's always differences around them. There's lots of variations of normal. So they're just speaking to the general. So do what you will do, and you'd be surprised when you honor yourself and just acknowledge yourself and just go, oh, I work out when I'm angry. Okay, good. Well, go watch some politics that you hate and then go hit it. Just honor yourself, and you would be surprised how much more successful you are. Sorry, I'm soapboxing here a little bit, but I want to add one point, and then I'll shut my mouth. is, do you ever notice, and I'm not making fun, you ever notice how people that read self-help books have a lot of self-help books? Because they're always looking for the next thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. You should always educate yourself. There's a lot of good information in those books. The problem is that somebody found a solution that fit their personality type. Maybe someone is like that personality where they need to write down everything, right? So maybe they come up with this formula about being hyper organized. But if you're more of an artistic person, sorry for my language, that shit ain't working for you. It's going to drive you bonkers. But because it sounded good, you're going to try this approach. And because it's not going to fit you, you're already setting yourself up for failure. Now you've added more stress to yourself. Oh my God, I'm trying to do this and I just can't do this. This stuff is not for me. And then it starts compounding. Maybe you just go, maybe I don't need to do that. Look at all the things I have done. So again, you want to strive, you want to have goals, but not everybody's fired up from the same thing. I don't get fired up by positive reinforcement. Everybody's like, oh, body positive, whatever. That doesn't work for me. I came up from a wrestler fighter mentality. You got to tell me I can't do something and I'm fat and out of shape and I'm weak and slow. That shit motivates me, right? So, so some other people, I don't want you to trash talk me all the time. It gets old fast. Yeah. But I get motivated by challenges, right? And so maybe if that's you, seek somebody that takes that same mindset, because like attracts like. So again, it all comes down to honoring yourself. Again, know who you are, know your psychology, and then fit. That's what I mean by fit the workouts and the strategy to you. And doing 6-day-a-week workouts or even 7-day-a-week at little 20-minute intervals may not be as bad as going 90 minutes hard, like CrossFit type crazy workouts. That's a big difference.
Right. I totally agree with that. I love that tip. Honor yourself. I think that's really important. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying before about fitness freedom and doing workouts that serve you and knowing like what motivates you, what does not motivate you. So I think that's fantastic. And I also think it's important to realize like, even, and I resonate with Nick a lot, like he went through a season, wasn't working out much and he was writing his book. I'm different. Like I'm always working out, but my workouts will change season to season. Like some seasons, like I'm super into like heavier training. Right now I'm in like a mix of mostly lighter weights and a little bit of heavy. And then sometimes I'm more focused on endurance. It just depends on like what I'm interested in, what I'm training for. So I think it's not a bad thing to be motivated to do different types of workouts. Sometimes, like I see my friend Felicia on here. Hey, Felicia, like I'll go to a bar class like once in a blue moon, or I like to do yoga sometimes. I like to go bike riding. I think that if honoring your interests, like what Nick was saying, is important for staying motivated and just staying active. And one thing I want to share too is Nick made a good point earlier. He said like, and I don't think this was a bias or, politically incorrect, and I can say this with facts. Like I've coached over 600 clients in my career, and I would say that about 80% of them are female. And I would say I definitely see more females overtraining than men. And I'm going to as a female that did struggle a little bit with body image in the past, and I am somebody that did train. I used to feel guilty for taking an off day. And I've seen this in a lot of women. And I no longer have that guilt. In fact, like I actually look forward to my off days because I know my body's going to build itself back. And I find that women tend to be afraid of those off days way more than men. And I can say that from like working with numbers. So I'm glad you brought that up because I've always thought that. And then it was nice that you kind of verified that. So again, I don't think that was something like out of bounds. But Nick, do you want to share a little bit more about like, because I love how you were starting to talk about your personal story, and how you got to where you are now, and, how people can continue to learn about you and from you.
Well, I'm not really sure what you're queuing me up for. Do you want me to just talk about my background a little bit or just my story of my own fitness?
Yeah, your story. And maybe that'll inspire some people here to stay motivated and consistent.
Yeah, well, I'll say this, that, I started off, I turned 45 this year, hence the gray hair, thinning hair here. So, I started training when I was 18 years old. My mom was a bodybuilder back in the 80s. I literally grew up in a gym. So I've seen this through all ages. And early on, I've always fancied myself as a person first. So I've always tried to put the personal in personal training. So I even though I was a gym rat, very athletic, I never tried to put myself on other people. I never tried to make them, mini versions of me. That being said, I did learn a lot, just more realistic as I started to get a little bit more into the business thing. I'd owned some gyms, then I started coming out. I'm dating myself. I started doing courses through DVD and then digital online. I'm a very early adopter to YouTube, and then writing books. So, it's not as easy as a lot of trainers. And granted, a lot of young trainers are coming into the field and they just literally live in a gym and they don't have kids and they don't have a house and they're not handy. They're not doing work at home. They're not just like, oh my God, they can't understand why their clients can't remember exercises. And they go, we're going to do a deadlift. And the clients go, how do we do this again? The trainer's like, oh my God, I've showed you this 15 freaking times. But it's to the client, they're like, I don't want to think. Any trainer's been training, at least a year, has heard that before. Whereas we gym folks, we're like, all I want to do is think. I want to think about the sets and reps. I want to think about the form. Am I, working my glutes as much? Because that's what we dig. So it was definitely a realization for me that, man, working out is not primary to me right now. Like training trainers and making this awesome program design course the best I can and putting something out there that I wish I had when I was an up and coming trainer. That's my priority. Working out right now is secondary to me right now. You said it, seasonal, right? But it was also, this is my personality again. I am very goal oriented, right? But, and I always joke, I always go on man brain, right? I got that one thing and I'm like a police horse. Like I can't see anything. My wife will talk to me and she'll be like, you're not listening to me. At least I'm honest. Some guys will be like, oh, I am, honey. I'll just go, no, I'm not listening to you. Right. So, but I get it done. But then I move on to the next thing. And I still have clients I train. So I'm still doing things, but I get that one goal. But the problem is once that one goal is unfocused, everything else becomes secondary. I'm still a good husband. I still take care of, call people. I just mean maybe for myself. Right. So other hobbies, I don't do it as much. My workouts sacrifice. So, but that's what works well for me. So I've certainly had waves where I've been in better shape. I'm always in decent shape, but not prime time male stripper shape, just sometimes Tuesday afternoon shift male stripper shape, as I jokingly like to say. Right. So not no Magic Mike, just the afternoon opening act for Magic Mike, maybe. I always joke with my male clients about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So but that's normal. I just accept it and go, okay, this is what's important right now. And there's another one. I didn't come up with this. I think I heard a football coach somewhere say it. The old saying, win, W-I-N, what's important now, right? So if you focus on what's important now, that's how you win. And there's your 24-hour goals. What's important now? What's important now is I just get this 20 minutes in. What's important now is I just take a nap, whatever it is. So I would just say, I've accepted my own self and how I work, and I don't like punish myself. Again, I'm still human. I still sometimes will get kind of ticked off and go, a little bit soft right now, man. I've been focusing a little too much on working on my house than working on this. All right. Yeah. So that'll move me into the next thing and just motivates me more I'm a pretty handy guy. So my wife and I did like flooring in our house. All right. Motivates me more to go, you know what? Instead of sitting here thinking about finishing this floor, let's just do this effing floor so I can get back to training hard.
I love that. And that, in that regard, like, first of all, I love that WIN strategy, win, what's important now. Everyone should write that down. That's a great tip for staying motivated and consistent. But I also really like how you talked about the freedom to choose, right? Like, well, this is what I'm focusing on right now. I'll get to training, because at the end of the day, if we have confidence that we can train, we can get the results we want at the end of the day, training is always going to be there. Training is not something that should take over our life. And it's funny, you talked about like people being gym people. And a lot of people assume that like people that work out in gyms, like they're just like gym rats, and I'm like, I had a part of my life where I was a gym rat. Right now, I do not belong to a gym. I'm currently in Telluride, Colorado, a very small mountain town. There's like 2 gyms in town and they're never full. I don't go to the gym. I work out in my house. I hike, but like fitness is still a part of my life, but it's not my focus. We are, we work in fitness. I don't want to like obsess about it myself, but I think that's a really good point. And, you know, what's important now, it could be sleep. You know, sleep is so freaking important. We talk about recovery, making gains in our training progress. If we're not actively recovering and getting sleep, we're never going to see progress, right? So sleep is super important there. So I like how you brought that up. And I really resonate a lot with what you were saying regarding like what's important in your life at the time. And, you know, sometimes for me, it's travel. Sometimes for me, it's working on my relationship. Sometimes for me, you know, I'm a real estate investor as well. I have 2 investment properties. So I manage that in addition to working with clients on nutrition and fitness, and this whole discipline talk we have today. And so that's a big part of my life too. And I think being multi-dimensional is important, you know, and not obsessing over, you know, fitness and physique all the time. And I think that helps me stay consistent and motivated, is not overthinking it, as Nick talked about earlier. And I can't say that was always who I was, but I'm really proud that I'm 38 now. It is a big part of how I think. And a lot of people say, oh, well, once I turn 30, once I turn 40, once I turn 50, like I lose everything. I can't get in shape. I mean, Nick, what do you have to say about that? Because I know that can be a deterrent for some people.
Yeah, I mean, that's an excuse. I'm not. Listen. It's certainly harder to get in, you know, magazine cover shape when you're over 40 than when you're 30, and then when you're in your 20s. I'm not denying that. That's just physiology, you know, unless you've got some crazy, you know, genetics. But it's all relative to yourself. It doesn't mean that you can improve your own physique or capability, whatever's more important, or both. So at that, and that's the other thing too, is I'm all about understanding people and relating and being realistic. But there's also, you know, there's a time that you still have to kick yourself in the gym shorts and just go, okay, you know, I'm not doing this and I'm making excuses. Sometimes you got to be more realistic, and you got to take a little bit of that old school hard ass approach. But I don't think they're contradictory. I don't think there's this empathy and this hard ass. That's ridiculous, right? They're not these 2 lanes and you pick one or the other. They're mutually compatible, not incompatible. So here's what I mean by that. What I mean by that is honor who you are, understand who you are. By how do you know how do I know who I am? Okay, what did I say before? All this ties together. Best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So for example, if you came to me, let's say you're just the imaginary client that probably is like a lot of folks listening right now, and you said, Nick, you know, maybe I used to work out, but it's been a while, and I've gotten to the, you know, but I really want to start training with you 3 times a week. And let's say you have the funds and you set aside the time and everything. I'm going to look at you and go, I'm not going to look at you and just go, ooh, great, I'm a for-profit organization. She wants to pay me to train her 3 times a week. Great, you know. I'm going to say, how many times a week have you worked out per week in the last 2 to 3 months? Don't tell me what I want to hear. Tell me exactly what you did. And you'll go, once a week. And I'm going to go, great. We're going to start with twice a week. And because your past behavior is shown that once a week is about what you do. So 3 times a week is setting you up for failure. You're automatically going to start canceling, and then you're going to go, this training thing's not for me. And then you're going to feel like shit about yourself. So we got to go just a little bit ahead of what you're already doing, right? Or maybe if they said to me, and maybe my question would be, probably would be, is I would go, is that every week? Or did you miss weeks pretty regularly? Meaning like you didn't just miss 1 week. Every other week you maybe missed a week or 2. And if they go, yeah, I go, we're going to start you with once a week. Yeah, but I should be working out 3 times a week. I don't care what you should be doing. I care what you will do.
Right.
Right? So we're going to start you with success for the first 8 weeks, maybe 6. Is that a magic number? No. Is it a scientific number? No. But it takes about 4 weeks or a month or 2 to create a habit.
Yeah.
You show me and you that you can come once a week, get after it consistently outside of canceling because you were sick or something like that. Right? And once we're there, now that's a habit. No, that's now who you are. That's not what you want to be. It's not what you think you should be. And now we add another day. So the reason why a lot of people don't stick with things is because they go on what I jokingly call, it's not always this, is they go on the breakup diet, right? They finally get past that relationship and go, I'm going to show that person that I can be amazing, right? I'm not making fun. It's just my sarcasm.
Yeah.
and they go join a CrossFit gym or Orange Theory Fitness, and they're pissed. They're like, I'm going to show this asshole what I can do, right? And next thing you know, they become this super fit person, right? But after a while, that emotion just doesn't roll up inside you anymore. It just goes away. Now you're 6 months out, a year out, and you have a new motivation that doesn't stick anymore because that was something else that got you there. Now, some people stay there and it just changes who they are. Good for them. But the reason why most people don't stick with it is because they do this unrealistic, Hunger Games type approach to things, and it doesn't stick, and then they go right back before. So that is, instead of honoring who you are and go, man, okay, I'm pretty busy, I'm pretty impatient. If I could only work out, it would probably be at home. So let me get some dumbbells and start at home, right? I find myself not going to the gym membership that I paid for. Great. Don't think you're an asshole because of that. Just go, that's not going to be me. I need to start working out at home. Just honor what your behavior tells you and then roll with that. So that's what I mean by, tying all this together. Best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. And then what's important now? What can I do now that gets me a little bit further and stack wins instead of giving yourself an unsuccessful strategy that's bound not to work because it's proven not to work for you. And then when it doesn't work, all you do, actually, we're fitness, nutrition, fitness, all that stuff is one of the only fields to where we can do a strategy that's guaranteed not to work, but we don't blame the person giving us the strategy, the Instagram person we blame ourselves, right? So we get with a trainer and goes, well, you got to start preparing your food and you don't eat breakfast. Oh my God. Well, you need to have 3 eggs in the morning. You need to have fruit. Well, that means going to the store, which you're not going to do because you haven't done it in 10 years. That means hours of food prep, which you're not going to do because you're always ordering food out. And all these things take time, and then you got to get up earlier, and then you got to do your cardio. That'll last for maybe a few weeks or maybe a few months if you're on the breakup diet, right? After that, that's going to get real old real quick. That strategy was bad. And then you're just going to beat yourself up and go, oh my God, I can't be it. No, I'm a fitness guy. I'm not doing that. So, do something that'll work for you.
I love that. And this is exactly, I'm so glad we're doing this conversation, Stan, because that's exactly the type of person I help and create my weight, right? Like they come to me and they said, well, tell me exactly what to do. I'll work out 5 days a week if you tell me to. I'll eat whatever you tell me to. And then I'm like, really? Like that? I don't believe that for a second, and they'll say, oh, I'm committed to 5 days a week of working out. I'm like, well, where are you now? And they're like, nothing. I'm like, we'll start with 1 day, and we're going to build. Mm-hmm. That is, we have to have these incremental changes. Atomic Habits, great book by James Clear, talks all about this. The Compound Effect's another great book that talks about these smaller changes over time. And I agree. I'm not a meal prepper. I cannot follow some super strict diet plan. I'm someone that likes to choose my food in the moment and have that freedom. So just as much as I believe in fitness freedom, I am so much an advocate of food freedom and learning how to. Yeah, right. So that's really a lot of what I do. And that's why Nick and I wanted to collaborate today, because as much as we love fitness and we're in the training space, we're also in this, self-improvement, realistic goal setting, doing things that are good for us as a person and honoring ourselves, not just following some bodybuilding.com fitness plan or meal plan you find on Pinterest blindly, because that is a very short-term, probably very low success rate option. And this is where Nick and I come in and really help people. Okay, we have a comment here. Makes so much sense, Coach Nick. Thank you. Comment below, guys. Give us a thumbs up if a lot of what we're saying today is inspiring you or is resonating with you. And before, some people they definitely want something super strict, they want to be told eat 3 eggs in the morning, or they want to be told exactly to work out 5 days a week. But as we say, it's we're looking at this for the long haul, so when we give another opinion, realize our job as coaches is to be the visionary, right? Mm-hmm. You come to a specific goal and we're thinking a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, how are you going to be successful without us one day? Because that's ultimate testament of a lifestyle. Right? And I love how Nick brought that word up, lifestyle. Comment lifestyle in the chat here. That's something that's really important to you or to your clients even. Because I know to me, that's what my clients want. My clients, like I said, they come to me for weight loss support. They've done all the diets. They've done keto. They've had meal plans. They've worked with nutritionists. They've done Noom. They've done Weight Watchers. They've done every freaking time. They've counted macros and calories. And now they come to me and they're like, that doesn't serve me anymore. You never did. So I want something that fits my lifestyle. And Nick said it really well earlier, guys. This was gold. It's not necessarily you that failed, it's the strategy, right? So I encourage you, and I think Nick says the same, to find the strategy that works for you. And I know that's something Nick helps with his clients in person. This is something I do virtually with clients within Create My Weight, and I help them with their nutrition, what works for them, fitness, what works for them, how to stay disciplined, as Nick and I were talking about today, and then teaching them how to hold themselves accountable, for the rest of their life. Nick, any final, because I know we're over about 45 minutes here, any final words of wisdom you want to share? You have that practical advice that
Yeah. Well, I think actually you hit on something that I just kind of came up with this as you were talking. I was listening to everything you were saying. I was thinking, I really don't think that the how to stay motivated is really, I always say that's what people say, that's client speak, right? That's what we all say. But really that's not the secret sauce, because motivation wears out, right? And you can read books about that, right? This self-discipline is like a muscle. You can only flex it so much before it gets tired and all these things. But really, that's what wears out. What we're talking about is that the mistake people really make, I would say, if we look really big picture here, is they try to base what they're doing off of self-discipline and off of staying motivated, when it really needs to be find a strategy that works with you. And that way motivation is never a factor. It's just what you do, right? You don't have to be mad because you had a terrible breakup, or you're mad about something and you're going to go hit the punching bag because someone ticked you off at work. This is just who you are. You just like hitting the bag because it's good exercise and it's good for you, makes you feel better. So that's really how you have to spin this. And it's really simple. Just look at yourself and just go, what have I actually done the last 3 months? Forget about what you think you should do. Okay, in the last 3 months, on average, 5 nights a week, I come home from work and I just want to eat the first friggin' thing in my fridge. I don't want to cook shit. I don't want to prepare shit. I don't even want to wait for Uber Eats to bring it to me. I'm starving, right? So in that case, you got to think, well, maybe I need to buy some things that are the closest things to healthier, higher protein things that I'll eat, right? That I will eat. Maybe you just think, hey, maybe that's Cliff protein bars. I'm just pulling up something now. Then do that. Don't just think, wow, well, I read an article back 5 years ago that said it has aspartame in it or whatever. You're going to drive yourself nuts. And guess what? You're going to end up eating the leftover pizza instead. So you see what I'm saying? People go crazy with too much information. So just look at it realistically and then go, what will I do in this time frame? I joined a gym, haven't gone in 3 months. But Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, I tend to, get off work a little earlier. Great. I'll buy a set of dumbbells and I'll do 15 minutes at my house, because I know I'll do that, but I know I'm not driving to the gym. How do I know that? Because I haven't done it in the last 3 months, but I'm paying $89 a month, right? That's, if you think that way and just be realistic, base things off of that, all this self-discipline and motivation isn't even a thing anymore. It's just, that is truly, you just go, this is for me. And then that builds. And next thing you know, I kind of dig this thing. I kind of dig doing my workouts. Maybe I want to go use some machines. Maybe I want to do a bar class. Maybe I will go join that gym. Now it's who you are. Now, every Tuesday and Thursday at 1, you're working that body in some way. That's the road to success. And that's the difference between where, I'm not saying this in a level, but where you are and where I'm at is we found the things that we like to do, even though we are training. It's like working in a pizza shop, right? The last thing you want to eat is pizza. So that's, you find something that you also enjoy that you don't just go, I don't want to do that. I've been working all day.
Yeah, I love it. And the key word here, guys, that Nick said a zillion times, and I talk about this a lot too, is strategy. And everyone's strategy is different. What we say in Create My Weight is, in CMW, we love cookies, but nothing we do is cookie cutter. Every person, and I'm sure Nick with his clients says the same thing. Every person I work with is different. Everyone has a different strategy. And this is exactly why, like, before I take on a new client, we sit down and do a full strategy session. So we sit down and I understand, like, exactly what their lifestyle is. Like, are they someone that likes to cook, or are they someone that's going to get more takeout, or they just want to cook a couple days a week? Are they on the road a lot, or what are their fitness preferences? What are their fitness goals? What's their fitness history, as Nick has talked about? You know, what is their discipline history like? And I love that you mentioned not relying on motivation, because yeah, motivation wavers, right? So and there's this phrase, I think it's motivation is a choice and discipline is a no, I'll come back to that. I just totally butchered that. I'm going to type it in the chat later because I have
Yeah.
about discipline. And I like that you said we can't rely on motivation because it wavers. But I always say lack of motivation comes from lack of confidence too, for a lot of people, in the sense that when we don't feel like we believe in ourselves to do something or don't know how to do something, then we waver in our motivation. So this is why having a strategy that is aligned with who we are as a person and we know will help us long term, that's the winning strategy right there.
For sure.
And yeah, and I know that you resonate with that, and so I'm so glad. I always see Joe Drake with us here. Hey Joe. Joe's another Palm Beach County trainer, owner of Gravity Oxygen Gym. Hey there, Joe. So yeah, guys, I want to just wrap this up real quickly and thank you so much for joining us today. And again, I was really excited to speak with Nick, not just because I've known Nick for a while, but also because we're trainers that really look at the mind and the person. Like, we put the personal and personal training, and although I don't really do personal training anymore, everything I do is virtual. I do teach online fitness a few days a week, but I personally focus more on nutrition, on mindset, and staying disciplined, having that strategy for success. I'll drop my link below here if you're interested in learning more about having a strategy session with me. I'll also have Nick drop in the comments after this, how to get in touch with him. Make sure you're following both of us here on Instagram. We also have Facebook followings as well. And Nick is always dropping gold on his pages. I do walk and talks every day here on Instagram where I'm talking about fitness or nutrition or my client stories, my own stories. And so I love doing live. I love doing talks. Nick and I are both educators. And so this is really our passion, and we're on a mission to help people, find the strategy that works for them. So Nick, I want to thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you all here soon. Thank you, Nick, for joining us.
Appreciate it. See you.
All right. Bye. See you guys. Figure out how to end this.